we are again so soon, and a lot of you hit us up with really good observations and questions, and we were like, okay, we have to get this done because I'm technically on break right now. However, watching the last one and so much came up, I'm like, let's get this done so I can go back to my little break.
You know.
Also, I noticed last time I was talking a whole lot, and I want to hear more from this guy. Let me just explain. I get very excited, and also, I kind of organize these, so I have this idea of what I want to cover, and it's just so difficult because there's so much to say. And so I want to let you know that if you want more of this, I mean, we would love to do these live. We would love to travel with this and then have all the time that you want, and you'd be able to ask questions, and it could be, you know, maybe online at the same time, a live stream. We can only do those things if you help us promote, if people know who we are, because otherwise we'll go to different cities and nobody will hear of us, and it's not going to happen. So if that is what you want, your job is to help us spread the word.
Boom. Okay. I like that.
This guy is going to be doing most of the talking. And I know you're thinking, wow, you're doing a very terrible job with that so far. That's because I want to get some things out there before we start. And then I'm just going to be more asking him questions. Okay? One thing that we kind of missed that someone brought up is make sure people's names are correct and times are correct on flyers. And that is a big one, because whoever does flyers is always the type of person who doesn't double check.
It seems so, right?
And I mean, it's nonstop. How many times was your name spelled wrong?
Oh my goodness. And for one event, probably like 5 times. I mean, that's
same. Like all the time. And other people told us, like, my name is always spelled wrong. So if you are the type of person who's not good with details and double checking, have a person on deck who's good at that. Yeah. That's the best way to go about that, because you will always miss it. There's, you know, a lot of people that, you know, are in this scene that have ADHD, that are dyslexic, all kinds of things. Artists, yes. Have somebody on deck who's really good into, like, details and double checking, because for the artists that are, you know, doing these things, we want that as exposure. We want people to look up those names.
That's your brand.
Exactly. Yeah. So please do that. Same with set times. If it says set times, try as much as you can to stick to that, because otherwise there's artists that are asked, can you cut your set short? And if that artist puts so much work and it only makes sense like this, it is really unfair to them. So that's just, I wanted to get that out of the way. I want to start with healthy music scene, because all of this was like from the local perspective. I want everybody to kind of know why this is in your best interest, whether you are, you know, the sound person, whether you are the fan, whether you are the artist, the promoter, whatever, why it's in your best interest to have a very healthy local music scene. A lot of artists still have that mindset of, I'll get discovered, or I'll, you know, do this contest and then, you know, I'll make it. And it's so much more complicated than that, because even if you do, let's say you are that person, you are kind of stuck doing what those people now expect of you. You know, you have very little freedom as an artist. And for some people, that's totally cool. But if you're not one of those people, I want to let you hear from this guy who was crowned the King of Music and Nightlife in Orlando. So why don't you tell the people, maybe as a promoter, what kind of big names you kind of, just so people know, like, the caliber we're talking here.
The big names that we brought in?
Who you brought in, and just talk about, like, as a promoter, or just, you know, and also artist. Yeah. Why was it in your best interest? Why did you try to make the local music scene thrive?
Okay, so I'll kind of start from the beginning a little bit as far as like what started to happen with the venue. The venue basically started to say, we don't want to do any more local events because of the fact that the locals weren't bringing in people, right? So it was like kind of, for them, for the venue, it was like, you know what I'm saying, this double-edged sword where it's like, okay, we're going to piss off some people, but at the same time, like, you know, we can't keep our lights on and stuff like that. So, so then they started to make more moves towards bringing in these bigger acts, right? And they appointed me as the guy who would take care of the locals, right? So what I had to do was I had to do different shows and things like this and talk to some of these artists to be like, hey, I'm going to need you to step it up. I'm going to also need you to see if you got any friends or stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, that can be at the show, hyping you up, that are right there, you know what I'm saying, on the floor, like as soon as you start to do your thing. So bigger acts that would come in, this is how I did it. Bigger acts that would come in, I would actually kind of weigh in a lot more. So A$AP Rock, for instance, at one point, one of the managers was like, yeah, A$AP Rock, he's kind of getting old, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we don't think he has it anymore. And I was like, what? Are you crazy?
The disrespect.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, and some of these folks, they don't follow that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They will only go to like Twitter or only go to, you know, Instagram and see like how much your status has moved, or they might even just check Facebook or whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like this dude has a cult following. So anyway, I was like, no, you want to do A$AP Rock. You know what I'm saying? And as a matter of fact, you know what I'm saying, me being part of that and me being active in the scene, that allowed for the booking agent to kind of be like, you know, we're going to take we could take a lower, you know what I'm saying, some sort of lower income, you know what I'm saying? But we also want to make that up on the back end. We end up selling out the spot, you know what I mean? And the locals that I put on top of that were folks that actually added to the show and had a flow that was just undeniable, you know what I mean? So that was a huge part of me getting the locals tied in together to say, okay, now I want to play shows like that. What do I got to do, Swan? Right. Well, you got to kill it on these local shows. You got to help me build up the numbers in the venues so that the managers know, oh, locals is still here. They're still thriving. They're still doing their thing. So what I would do is I would change up. This is two promoters out here. I would change up the actual vibe of a show. I wouldn't just throw a show. I changed it up. I did something that was called Fat Gold Chain Chronicles, right? And I would introduce, like my boy Quell, shout out to Quell in Chicago, right? I would bring him out, and like, you know, he got like a little cult following. So, you know, he could bring out, like, even in Orlando, where he doesn't go to a lot, and some certain people don't route there because, especially if a lot of hip hop artists aren't doing their thing and they don't hear about Orlando, all they hear is Disney. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They won't route there because they know they can't make money.
That's the thing too. As a fan, it's in your best interest for the scene to be popping, right?
Exactly.
The big artist or whoever you want won't even come.
Yeah, because they know, like, oh, it's not popping.
Exactly. You'll get Taylor Swift in Seattle. Like, right, what else are you gonna get?
Right. So they saw like that we had a few local people doing their thing, myself included, and that's when they were like, okay, cool. Like, we heard of these people. It must be popping. If they're thriving, if they're able to survive off of their craft out there, then, like, yeah, we could probably get some money out there. Plus, is Swamp doing the show? Okay, that's a no-brainer. Boom. So my man Quell comes out. I put him in with the Fat Gold Chain Chronicles. Right? I think I had E-Turn on there. There was some other folks, you know what I'm saying? Some up-and-comers and things like this. Sean Shakespeare, I believe. I'm not sure. I think I had Skip, my boy Skip. Shout out to all of these artists. So anyway, the setup was you had a 15-minute set that you can do, okay? Everybody got a 30-minute. Everybody. Even the headliner. You know what I'm saying? They were all treated the same pretty much, right? So you had a 15-minute set that you can do of your own, but that's what you did That's what the first 15 minutes were.
Okay.
Then I got producers, right, from our city, you know what I mean? And I said, hey, I need you to make me a slow beat, a fast beat, and a 6/8 or 3/4 beat. You know what I mean? And I was like, I told this to all the different artists. I said, we're going to change up your stuff so that you can challenge yourself and so that fans can see you, you know what I'm saying, on the spot, basically practicing or see what it is that you have been practicing at the crib. You know what I mean? So they can really see like the art of this MCing. So Quell comes out, you know what I'm saying? He's like, yes, you know, I'm down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Give me whatever, right? I had Beef Wellington, I had Da Vinci, I had X144 as the producers, and someone else. I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting these names, but it was a minute ago. So then they all had really dope beats, right? Slow beat, fast beat, so the artists would get up, they would do their thing, right? And this was so engaging for the fans because the fans got to see like just how dope hip hop could be, like the art in itself, right? So it got them hyped on just shows in general every time they would see my name, but then also every time they would see hip hop, you know what I'm saying, in the building, they were kind of thinking like, oh, is it going to be something like they did before? You know what I'm saying? Is this artist going to bring out some different styles? So long story short, you know what I'm saying, these artists went through their 15 minutes. They did the slow beat. They got through that because people practice that. They got through the fast beat. And then you got to see some of these MCs kind of struggle, but also kind of make it. You know what I mean? And it ended up being neck and neck with E-Turn and Quell. You know what I'm saying? They both killed it. You know what I'm saying? I think E-Turn edged it because the crowd gave it to E-Turn. And so I had a fake fat gold chain. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing. That was the prize at the end. So you got money, you know what I'm saying? And then you got the fake fat gold chain, you know what I'm saying, presented to you.
Yeah, okay. So just like in the last one, you were talking about what was it called?
Get Money.
Get Money?
Yeah.
This was another one, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, you can see how much excitement that builds in the community. It's like, I want to get on the next show.
Yeah.
Who's running it?
Exactly.
That was another thing that we heard from some of our friends. Like, oh yeah, I know the promoter in my city. It was somebody from Austin, and I know when this person does a show, I definitely go because I trust them to, you know, pick the right people for it to run smoothly or whatever. People will look out for that, and if that's not there.
Yeah.
But another one that we talked about is the Freshman 15.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the creativity,
yeah.
You know, we don't think about promoters being creative. And even right now, like, I want to get to like artists just at the end of this. We don't even think about artists being that creative,
right.
Especially like, you know, you have your album or your music and you practice just rapping or singing along to the background track, and that's your whole show,
right?
You know, it's like
yeah,
let's talk about what you did with Freshman 15 to kind of like shake that up.
All right, cool. So Freshman 15, we had
I'm doing good not interrupting. I'm kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Right. Nah, this is good. This is dope. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So Freshman 15 started out, there was two places. There was two things that went on. There was the prelims, and then there was like the actual finals, right? And so in the prelims, what was happening is like, there was a lot of people that came through, right? And those, we didn't really screen those folks too much. We just let them, you know what I'm saying, do their thing. So we actually called that something different. Right? So that was called Please Listen to My Demo, right? Yeah. So, and Please Listen to My Demo, you know what I'm saying, was like, that's exactly what it was. So it was all different types of people that didn't even like try to really rap. You know what I'm saying? They came out and they was like, yo, this sounds fun. But it was fun for the crowd too, because they were like, yo, like it's not all serious. You know what I'm saying? Like people just doing their thing. So, but in it, when you would have people like really kill it, the crowd, and I had judges too, you know what I'm saying? The crowd and the judges, they was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? So these folks, they were like, like this is it, right? So they would get picked at the end of the night, right? And it was the crowd was knowing too. And most of the crowd would actually follow from these nights, like the Please Listen to My Demo to Freshman 15, right? So at Freshman, so while we got that, when we got all our people that we needed, these people were performing Freshman 15, right? And how it was done was this was not just hip hop. This was like all different types of acts, right? Yeah. So we had the rock act, we had the acoustic act, we had an acapella act, you know what I'm saying? That actually ended up selling the most tickets, you know what I'm saying, at one of these events, and actually won like the whole thing, you know what I mean? Mm. So, so that, the way that setup was they brought out obviously their crowds, like, so it was judged by who could sell the most tickets, who had like the best show, you know what I'm saying? And like, I think it was something also about like the best song, like who had the best song, right? Oh, and the fluidity of the show, like how the show flowed. So if it was too much stopping and stuff like that, you would get points deducted.
That's great.
No, it was great.
That's great.
And in the venue, they had a higher like level, right? So like all the judges were up there. It was super dope, right? So it gave the whole aesthetic. So then the people that are filling the spot, it was this thing, because of us putting this type of thing together, it was always at least about 250 people, you know what I'm saying, in a 400 capacity room, right? Our biggest nights that we would do, they would sell out. And these are local nights, right? So as they would do their thing, you know what I'm saying, people, like, they got excited about every genre, right? Hip hop heads would look at the fact that they were getting beat out by an a cappella group, you know what I'm saying, be looking at their producers like, hey, yo, they don't even have a beat, fam, and they killing us. You
yeah, then the producer should have been like, well, can you do that without a beat? Maybe you're the problem.
Right, you need to step it up. So everybody was like kind of looking at the fact that, okay, we need to step our game up. Right? So now this type of stuff, now I continued this for a while. And so these types of shows and everybody being a part of it, like eventually, without even noticing, the bigger venues started actually booking some of these acts. And they were like, yo, we saw you at this. We saw you being promoted in the paper because of this. You won this, such and such. You know what I'm saying?
And then for an artist, a smaller local artist, now you can tell people, I was an opener for this big artist, right? Now that kind of goes towards you. So that's why it's in your best interest to make these shows as good as possible. And, you know, as many people that you know, invite them, make the scene live, because then that helps you.
Exactly.
You don't have to wait to get discovered. You can build this whole thing.
And that's what it's based off of, because as soon, like, as a promoter, my job would be to build you up as the local artist that goes from, like, let's say the restaurant gig, you know what I'm saying, to now a 400 capacity room, and you're filling it, right? And then my job is not to stop there, but to build you up to the 1100, you know what I'm saying, capacity room. That's just, you know, these are capacities that were in Orlando. So that's what I was doing. And while I was doing that, then you could imagine when the people would come through, right? And they would try to like test some of the Orlando music scene. They was getting that business, you know what I mean? They was getting that work, you know? Because these folks, they were just like, you know, there's a lot of people out here that don't really care about our music anyway, but we still killing it. Let's go in, let's show these folks. And there were people getting put on tour because of what it is that we were doing.
Okay, so why was it important to you as a producer to not just build your own brand like a lot of producers do?
Producer or promoter?
I'm sorry, promoter.
Got you.
As a promoter. Why you didn't just try to build your brand, bring in the biggest names you can, do the biggest shows, but your approach was to make these local superstars. Why?
Right. So my approach to that was, I did that because these are the next big stars. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at your future, you know what I mean? And what's to come. So if you're not building on top of what is already here, then there's no reason for you to, you know what I'm saying, even be a promoter, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you're not promoting anything. All you're doing is tagging along, you know what I'm saying? And asking to be down with all these other crews. But yeah, my whole thing was to create like the epicenter, if you will, or the hub of great hip hop, of great music, of great healthy music scene.
Okay. You know? So I have another kind of angle to that. So as far as hip hop, we'll just stick to hip hop for a second. We've been doing the art of the skilled MCs and just really like focusing on, you know, hip hop shows, things like that. But obviously, you know, that's the part that kind of gets highlighted, the MC, the rapper, the live show, right? But obviously we're still missing like at least three more elements. Okay. You know, the breaking, graffiti art or writing, of course, and DJ, right? So how did you approach kind of making sure that all of those, because knowing you, I'm sure you were seeing it from like a full circle perspective. How did you try to make sure all of those elements were in? And you know, some of the people you named were also part of B-side artists, so I know they were already artists. But like any events or anything like you were trying to do to make sure that more of the
So woo, man, we used to do, we used to do this event in order to bring all the people together. And this was a way so that the scene could observe itself. You know what I mean? And I'm also talking about the hip hop scene as well, right? So the community could observe itself, you know what I'm saying? And the hip hop scene could be like, oh, damn, like that's what's up. So there was this Tuesday night, it's called Fat and Jazzy, right? And I used to do this thing that was called the T-shirt Expo. Right? Because there was entrepreneurs there too. And that's also an element, you know what I'm saying, within our hip hop community. You know what I mean? So I brought the MCs and there was like a 15-minute set that they would do that was actually called Wow the Crowd. See how I'm doing like all these different things? It's like you have to engage with your people. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, yo, do your set. You know what I'm saying? Nah.
And also,
no, do your thing.
You know, if you see all this and you're watching this, don't start biting these ideas.
Nah, please.
Every single time he has something new. And that's the idea. Just like, you know, right now on social media, it's all about biting. It's like, it just really is like, it's okay. But that's a different thing. Here we're talking about like, you know.
These are the elements.
If you see the dopest show, don't start biting that show. Right. If you hear a dope idea, the whole idea is to develop yourself and your skill and your creativity. You know, look at what you're doing, and then it's like, how can I push the envelope on what my thing is? Not just steal somebody else's thing over and over.
Thank you. Whack. Thank you. Go ahead. Nah, you good. So so that element was called Wow the Crowd, right? And so I would pick an MC, you know, that they knew their thing was to wow the crowd. Now, if you didn't wow the crowd, you were not invited on any more of my shows at all. That was the incentive. Like, you were not invited on any more of my shows at all.
Damn.
And it was just like, we was canceling them. I mean, you know, they could basically, I'll put it to you like this. They could get to a level where it was like, okay, it's dope. But then they had to invite me. They had to actually hit me up with a flyer. You know what I'm saying? They had to, you know, come through.
Do that work.
Yeah. So then I would see them at the show.
But this only works if somebody cares about not being on your show.
The promoter got to care. The promoter got to...
I mean...
you talking about...
It has to be dope enough for those artists to, like, actually be heartbroken that they can't do your shows.
Yes, exactly. Because it's not a power, you know, structure if... we don't have value in the people that we're giving the power to. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or we're accepting power from. Right. You know what I mean? So, all right. So this is what ended up happening is like all them cats, they would wow the crowd. So it was a great thing. But I then had another element, which was the graph. But now we couldn't really do graph and stuff in the actual venue. So they would use like an odorless kind of spray paint or... and they could only use that for a little bit, but then they had to switch up to the actual paints. Or they would use, what was this? They would use another kind of technique, you know what I mean? And so I actually got them to give me wall space every month, I believe it was, right? And like there would be a new piece in the spot, right? So then Then there were what we call the B-side artists. B-side artists or the venue cats. Like they would
he's one of the founders of B-side artists.
Right, exactly.
And we're both members.
Exactly. There's like 250 artists, you know what I'm saying, a collective of it's not all in Orlando. It's all over the world.
But started in Orlando.
Exactly. So, shout out to Tobar, Trey, G. Lemus. You already know.
What up?
You know what I mean? Spec, you know what I mean? All right, so then we had
Skip.
You know what I'm saying? Like shout outs. You know what I mean? So then we had the T-shirt expo, right? But we had the artists that were there, which is the B-side artists, and they would do paintings while people would come through. And this is all in the same venue, all going on the same night. People would come through, they would look at the art, they would look at the T-shirts that we had. So this was to get the actual artists to make product. You know what I'm saying? Make T-shirts so that because artists be slacking too, you know what I mean? So they actually had to make product, and then we would sell the T-shirts. But this was a way for them to introduce their business. It's almost like a pop-up shop for 12 different artists. You know what I'm saying, in the spot. Lastly, the breakers would always come through. They would always come through. These people, because of the nights, these people actually ended up changing the dance floor. The shape of the whole venue in order for these cats to do their thing. That's what we call impact. You know what I'm saying? That's what we call impact. So like that was, it was a way to keep people engaged. And they started noticing that if you engage with your crowd in a specific way, they will fill up those roles. You know what I'm saying? So now that we had like this new structure, everybody was like, oh man, we can get to it. Now, remember when I told you about how these managers started only messing with the upper, you know what I'm saying, echelon type artists and things like this? They started utilizing some of these locals. They started opening up doors a little more. Now they had about 300 folks every time they did their thing. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, it was awesome. You know what I'm saying? And
then when people, the artists or whoever else now sees the value and are getting paid,
right?
They finally like have T-shirts, they have this going on. Then if somebody's not doing their job, you're messing with their money, and then people start taking it a lot more seriously.
Exactly.
So it's not like one of these, roles has to do their job. Yep. Everybody has to do their job at the same time for this to make any damn sense.
Exactly. And Miami could thank us too, you know what I'm saying? Because we was bringing in a lot of people that weren't willing to route, you know what I'm saying, or go all the way down to Miami, you know what I'm saying, like to just get that money, because that's where it was coming from at first. You know what I'm saying? They had the livest, they had the livest scene. But then to go down there and then to go all the way back up and not have any shows, you wasting all of what you just made on gas money. See, y'all got to think about this shit. You know what I mean? This is like, these are the jewels right here, man. So we were helping them with the cost of the hotels and stuff, as well as the gas money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why some of these artists, if they come into your town, if there's nothing else, they will ask for more. You know what I mean? Right. Because that's them getting their own back, right? But the promoters, y'all got to do your job before you get these bigger acts in, and you have to actually have a healthy scene, excuse me, so that all of these people that are coming into town, they can be like, oh man, like this is a no-brainer. Like I can do this show. And if they know you like that and they got like interest in what's happening, they can do the show with no problem. And possibly even, give you a break. Possibly be like, you know what, 200 less, that's not a problem. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I want to kind of switch real quick to the role or the job of the artist. Is there anything else you wanted to say just overall on like the health and creativity of the local music scene before we move on?
In order to keep that up, also, you got to make sure that you are a frequent consumer of your scene, you know what I'm saying? Like where you get your food from, you know what I'm saying? Where you do some of your business, like all that gotta be healthy.
Right, because also, if you are now a known artist in the area, different businesses that are not music venues can now, you know, reach out to you, or you reach out to them to now do events or sort of things, even like restaurants, cafes, bookstores, whatever. Now, you know, people know who you are. Things are alive. You can start networking. And
here's another thing is those places that didn't know you before, they will now actually put your flyer up happily in their windows. It's huge.
Okay, so we're talking about jobs, right? DJs, promoters, everybody doing their job. None of it makes sense if the artists are not doing their job, because all of those other things are sort of there to support and like showcase and make money of the artist, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that we have heard, which a lot of people don't think about, from audience members being like, when we watched your show, when you were on stage, we felt comfortable enough to like relax and enjoy it. Because as an artist, you sometimes don't realize that if you don't have your shit together, the audience is feeling nervous with you or for you, right? And it's like, they didn't come there to work.
Right.
Okay? They came to chill. And so if you're not doing your job, you're kind of like putting some off of that on the audience, which is not cool, right? Exactly. So if you don't have your set together, if you didn't think this through, and you're up there like, I wonder what I should play next, or messing up, you know, all your words or whatever, without having like experience and skill of like freestyling to kind of save your own ass, right? Or whatever, right? If you don't have all of those skills in place, the audience will not feel comfortable around you. And that's not a good feeling to have. And that doesn't kind of like create the right vibe. Okay. So let's say there's an artist watching, and it doesn't have to be a hip hop artist, just like an artist that has been working on their skill and has maybe some recorded songs and feels like, I want to go and perform. You know, have a 15, 20 like opener set. What's the thing they need to think about to switch from having a song or songs to having a show? Because I don't feel like a lot of people know that there is a difference.
Right.
That you just, because you can go up there and you can do 5 songs in a row, that's not a show. That's 5 songs. So what is the difference, and what can people do to like do it in a creative way, against to not just bite somebody else's whole style or show?
Of course, this is a dope question.
How would you say they could, as an artist, approach taking what they have and turning it into a show? Okay,
cool. So like basically, I kind of go off of the experience of me telling somebody else, right? There was this artist that had 2 really good songs, like super good songs. They were like enough to get good radio play on. You know what I'm saying? And I basically was telling them, I said, set wise, what is usually your set time that you're given? And they said anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes. Said 30 tops. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, so what you want to do is you want to come up with an intro, right? And the intro has to be like something that is pretty creative. You know what I mean? I was like, you can rap, right? I want to hear you rap to the crowd without the beat coming in, you know what I'm saying? And then also like now, like once the beat comes in, right? I want there to be a pause or a break, you know what I mean? Which could be like your actual, what was this? Like a break in the verse or whatever, right? I want you to break there, then actually have the beat come in. Even if you gotta press it, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta be engaging, right? And that was like the beginning of the set, right? So now it went from, I want you to prevent the things you can and will, don't let the microscope above the hardy nothing touch the shit you call it, so let's go remember travel paths, something like this, right? And it's like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, saying something like that. So it engages the crowd and they're like, oh, they got something to get hyped with, right? Now, that can't last too long. You don't want to do a whole song for it. It's just an intro, right? Bam. Then hit them with that good song. That good song that you got. You know what I mean? Second. And he was like, oh, why am I hitting them with my good song? Like, why don't I do that last? I was like, because you don't know that these people going to be there that whole time.
They might be like,
you know what I'm saying? We might be out. So I was like, because once you got the crowd, you will feel the energy and you'll be able to give that energy back. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was like, during this second song, let's say there's 5 songs, right? Second song, the song goes hard. It goes for itself, right? After that, I said, yo, now you want to introduce yourself. Don't introduce yourself yet. You know what I'm saying? Now you want to introduce yourself. This is the breather. You know what I mean? Boom. So he introduced himself. You know what I'm saying? This, that, and the third. It's getting intimate, right? Next song that comes on, can y'all guess what it is? Oh, it's got to be another banger. So that second one that you got, you know what I'm saying? That second dope song that you got, let's go. Boom, right? Okay, so that song comes on. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Also does well, right? Right after that, go into your next song. And the next song, it may not be the banger that's like that, but it's like an album cut or whatever. Cool, right? So, but at this point, if let's say you had a jacket on the whole time, time to take the jacket off. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a wardrobe change, but all it is just you intimately making some sort of move with your crowd that lets your audience know, oh man, he about to go in.
I saw that the last show Henri did, Henri Osborne.
Yeah, there you go. He took
off his hat.
There you go.
Now I know why.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? There you go. And it's just a slight something. And this is if you don't have the props and all that stuff. This is just something that you do a little different. You know what I'm saying? And then you go in because you're not trying to do like all these different antics. You know what I'm saying? If songs is what you're trying to like really get across. And let's say you're trying to sell that album. You know what I mean? So then the last song, right? Right before you get to the last, it's like an engaging moment. You know what I'm saying? But you don't say, all right, this is my last song. You know what I'm saying? You don't do anything like that. You know what I'm saying? You just do something that makes it seem like, okay, nothing else can go after that. Now, if you thought it was going to be like your biggest, baddest song, you know what I'm saying, that you didn't save for last, it's okay. You know what I mean? So what it is that he had was like, he had a song that was dope, like meaning like rap wise, like there were 3 solid verses, right? And I told him, I said, instead of using the beat that you got, why don't you use another beat for the last verse? You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can change up certain things for the show. You know what I mean? But the flow of this has to go from like, you know, one thing to the next. There can't be any stops. You know what I mean? And if there is a stop, it's actually meant. You know what I'm saying? Like you meant to do that.
Okay. So one thing that I also want to mention, if you are one of the openers, stick around, right? Because a lot of times, I know someone actually after the last video asked you, like, why does only the headliner get paid? And it's like, well, because you didn't bring in any people.
Right.
And also you did your set and you left.
Right.
So if in building this kind of like healthy community, there's got to be the support, just like the audience, you know, if there's somebody on stage, come up, you know, give them some of your energy. Yeah. So it's an exchange of energy, right? Because nobody wants to just be pouring their heart out to like the floor. You know what I'm saying? Just like, yeah, everybody, your energy is kind of needed for this to work. So, but okay, so we have this example of a set. Obviously, you might be a band and you might have like 8 people on there, and that is a very different thing. A lot more coordinating, a lot more sound checking. You might have dancers with you. That's a whole different thing. You can decide if there's that's when you really have to, like, I always really scope out the venue that I'll be performing at, because a lot of times I did have dancers on stage, or even if I've never been there before and I probably won't be able to be there until sound check, because let's say it's in a different city. I always look up any online social media videos or pictures of that venue, and I literally think about what I'm going to wear based on the colors of that stage, because you don't want to blend in with the stage, right? You want to stand out you want it to be kind of have a same vibe, because it's like if you show up to the stage and it's all like red velvet curtains, you know, you could play with that.
Yeah.
So when deciding, even if I have a set, it could change based on where you're performing, and it should change based on, you know, where you're performing if the venue is very different. So if it's like a very small intimate venue, I'm going to approach that completely differently than something else. And obviously we don't want to get too much into visuals, because
that could be a whole nother
that's
thing,
a whole
you know what I mean?
whole other thing, right? Like, for example, somebody like, to me, like, I love Stromae's live shows from what I've seen of them. If you want to like check out his Tiny Desk, which is very stripped down, versus, you know, different stuff he's done for me, like creatively, like me and him are like here. Like, I love that shit. But let's kind of delve into that kind of like material, because this is an example for somebody that's maybe on their own and is doing a set, right? Now, again, don't take exactly what he said and copy it, because then everybody is going to start their set with an acapella and then put in the beat. Like, we don't want that. This is just things for you to kind of take that, look at it, learn from it, and look at what your show is, and which elements you can kind of elevate, which elements you can play with. So a show for something like Mugs and Pockets versus a live performance for something like the Labyrinthine album. Someone actually asked us that. Like, well, how would you approach putting Labyrinthine on stage? Now, obviously, Labyrinthine, I would be doing a lot of the performing. However, you, as the executive producer and know very much what's going on in that album, how would you approach that kind of a show versus what we do for like the regular MAP show, hip-hop show?
For me, a lot more used to that stage. So for instance, if it was Labyrinthine, knowing the sounds that are prevalent, you know what I'm saying, in Labyrinthine, first and foremost, like I think the setup would probably be a little further back on the stage. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely be further back. I would actually have some sort of props up front, whether it's like plants, you know what I'm saying, rocks and things like this, you know what I'm saying? Even if you have those curtains, if you do have curtains or whatever, and if you didn't, you know what I'm saying, if there was some sort of way to kind of almost like frame the stage, you know what I'm saying? That's how I would do it, so that there's not just like a random, you know what I'm saying, water bottle, you know what I'm saying, here, and like, you know what I'm saying?
So a lot more visual considerations.
Yeah, a lot more visual, you know. And because of that, right, I would probably blend into the stage, you know what I'm saying, into the background of the stage while I'm doing certain things. Maybe I have a few lights or something like that, so that's kind of what you're seeing. And then you would see mainly her doing her thing, you know what I'm saying? You know, maybe fog machine, but not too crazy, you know what I'm saying? Just like on the ground. So
maybe
it looks like she's
falling.
So like, so it looks like she's floating.
During like, you know, one song, like leaves. But you know, to accomplish this, right, there would have to be a much greater consideration of a venue. So it's not really the same thing as Mugs and Pockets. We can jump on any stage and perform. This would have to be kind of like scouting out venues, because, you know, I would love to do something more like literally underground, you know, something that is amazing. Lots of like velvety, like cocktail, like nobody really knows about this spot kind of a thing. And I personally, I just love performing where there's a very like closeness and just a intimate vibe. Like, if I had my way, I would perform in people's living rooms without a microphone all my songs. Because I'm just so traumatized by all the like sound fiascos I've had over the years, because, you know, because in the type of singing I do, I've mentioned this many times before, it's the nuances, and I can't sing or yell those songs or they lose all their magic. But if like the beat is that loud, I kind of don't have a choice, and if they just keep turning up the mic, there's all this feedback, and it's just, that's why for something as important as Labyrinth,
a 2-hour sound check.
Yeah.
Straight up.
You know, and it has to be the right venue. It has to be a picked out sound engineer, you know, sound person, and just like everything has to be right for that. That's
the best thing too about knowing your staff, you know what I'm saying, knowing who's capable of what, you know what I'm saying, especially at a venue, certain things that you can't control, you know what I mean? But if you can, like, know who it is that's part of that, man, that's the most perfect idea right there to kind of go for, you know? Yeah, so just for me, to kind of wrap this up, because that's pretty much all I had, but I think the most important thing for me here was to keep that local music scene alive. Everybody has to see a value in it and a value in their role. So, you know, starting with the artist respecting the craft and respecting the stage. And so when enough people are doing that, then the outliers, the people who are not, you know, stick out like sore thumbs, and people will be like, okay, you're messing up my set. You didn't show up on like, imagine if everybody's doing their job and that sound person doesn't show up, they won't work with that person again. You know, so it's just like, this doesn't really work unless everybody sees the value in it, sees what they can get out of it, that maybe this could actually become a profession, which we don't really think about as almost possible anymore, because we're looking at like, you know, Spotify listens and numbers and things where those people, your music's probably playing in like hotels or random bars and things. And people, if it sounds like everything else, those people are not necessarily checking for who you are as an artist. They don't get to know you as an artist like this. And why would they, you know, if they've been using it as background music for studying, why would they really come to a live show? So they probably just don't know who you are. So that's why this local live music scene, you can really build something there. And then as an artist, it's in your best interest for there to be other good artists, because if you are that good artist and you're the headliner, but all of the openers are shit, then a lot of people might not even stick around to hear you, because they lost, you know, like, it's late. You know what I'm saying? That's that ratio. If like one person sound like shit, the next person sound like shit. And they're not coming to the next show either. What I'm saying? Right? Because that was a waste of their night. Exactly. So any final ideas or thoughts? Final ideas and thoughts. Find out who sounds like you and battle them. Simply because that's going to be your competition when you out there in the streets, you know what I'm saying? So like when it's, and all that's healthy, you know what I'm saying? Like invite them out, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go toe to toe with some songs, you know what I'm saying? At the venue, because that's going to like excite you guys as a different crews inside of that city. And that's also going to excite anybody that's watching that, you know what I mean? That platform of the stage, and you guys respecting the stage and bringing your A game to that stage, anybody looking at that is going to be like, man, I have to tell all my people I'm coming again. Yo, that was the greatest show that you guys ever put on. Thank you so much. And get creative. Look at what other artists are doing or have done over the years and really see how it applies to you and your show. I've said this many times, but like, stop stealing shit, but develop your own sound, your own stage persona, your own whatever. Like, because again, what is the reason you're up there? If this is something that you need, you want, there's easier ways to make money. So if you don't know why you're up there, take a little time out, figure out. Because like I said, otherwise there's just a bunch of people's like, well, I've done it for 10 years. Let me just go up there again. But no show, no excitement, no anything. It's like, no, hang that up. Awaken that fire, or take a little break. You know what I'm saying? Promote somebody else. You know Promote somebody else. Buy their stuff. Be like, let me support. Yeah. Let me call the station for these other people that are doing the thing. Okay, well, Jules, I'm going on my little break. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Okay. And stay happy, healthy, and, you know,
physically active. Go do your little walks and stuff. It's all these things are good for your blood flowing. It all goes to the brain. You get creative. When I take walks, that's when I get like half of my ideas. Do your thing.
Very true.
Stay healthy, and see you soon.
Peace.